The science of identical twins, how one egg becomes two people. What if I told you that two completely separate human beings can start as a single cell, and the timing of one tiny split determines whether they're born healthy, share a womb, or are physically connected for life? Every person begins the same way, a single fertilized cell, but sometimes something extraordinary happens. That one cell splits, and instead of one baby, you get two identical twins. But here's what most people don't realize. How and when that split happens changes everything. It can mean two completely healthy babies, or a high-risk pregnancy with life-threatening complications. It can even result in twins who are permanently joined together. Today we're going inside the human body to follow the entire journey, from the moment a sperm meets an egg, all the way through the rare biological event that creates identical twins. By the end of this video, you'll understand something that even many doctors find fascinating. Let's get into it. Main content. The moment it all begins. When sperm enters the female reproductive system, it has one mission: find an egg. Millions of sperm make the journey, but only one wins. The moment a single sperm breaks through the outer layer of the egg, something almost instant happens. The surface of the egg chemically changes, locking every other sperm out. No second chances, no backup entries. Once inside, the sperm's tail, which it no longer needs, simply disintegrates. The head of the sperm fuses with the egg, and here's where it gets incredible. The father's DNA, carried in the sperm's nucleus, merges with the mother's DNA inside the egg. Two becomes one. Together, they form a complete set of 46 chromosomes. Half from mom, half from dad. This brand new single cell is called a zygote. And this tiny cell? It contains every genetic instruction needed to build an entire human being. The journey down the fallopian tube. Now, the zygote doesn't just sit there. It immediately starts dividing. One cell becomes two, two become four, four become eight. A tiny growing ball of life. And while all this division is happening, the zygote is also moving. Gentle muscle contractions in the fallopian tube walls, combined with tiny hair-like structures called cilia, slowly push it toward the uterus. This journey takes 3 to 5 days. Think about that. In less than a week, what started as a single cell has become a small cluster of dozens of cells, and it's traveling through the body to find its home. From morula to blastocyst. By the time the growing cluster reaches about 16 to 32 cells, it's called a morula, which basically looks like a tiny round mulberry. Then, around day 4, something new happens. The morula begins absorbing fluid and a large cavity forms inside it. Now it has a new name, the blastocyst. The blastocyst has two distinct parts, an outer layer of cells that will eventually become the placenta and an inner group of cells that will develop into the actual baby. By day 5, the blastocyst reaches the uterus. And in one of the most critical moments in early pregnancy, it hatches out of its outer membrane. Then it attaches itself to the uterine lining, the endometrium. This is called implantation, and it's the moment the developing embryo gains access to the mother's blood supply. Nutrients, oxygen, everything it needs to keep growing. Without successful implantation, pregnancy simply doesn't continue. When something extraordinary happens, the twin split now, here's where things get truly fascinating. In rare cases during those early stages of cell division, something unexpected occurs. The developing cells split into two distinct groups, each carrying a complete identical copy of the original DNA. Two separate groups, two independent cell clusters, and eventually two babies. This is how identical twins are born. But here's the thing scientists still can't fully explain. Why does this happen? The exact trigger behind the split is still not completely understood. Genetics may play a role. Certain fertility treatments may increase the likelihood, but no one can reliably predict when or if it will happen. And here's the critical detail most people never think about. The timing of the split changes everything. Split timing. Why it matters more than you think. The earliest split, two separate zygotes. If the split happens in the first couple of days after fertilization, at the two-cell stage, each group develops completely independently. Each twin gets its own placenta and its own amniotic sac. These are called dichorionic diamniotic twins. Two separate environments, inside the womb. This is the most common type of identical twins, and the safest. The risks are relatively low, and both babies have their own space and their own resources. A later split, shared placenta, separate sacs. If the split happens a little later, around 4 to 8 days after fertilization, usually after the morula has already developed into a blastocyst, the situation changes. Now the twins share one placenta, but each still has its own amniotic sac. These are called monochorionic diamniotic twins. Sharing a placenta means sharing a blood supply, and that introduces a serious risk. It's called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, or TT. Here's what happens. One twin starts receiving more blood flow than the other. The bigger twin gets too much. The smaller twin doesn't get enough. One grows larger, one is deprived. And if left untreated, the outcome can be devastating. Both twins die in 50 to 70% of cases. The fact that each twin still has its own amniotic sac does offer some protection. It prevents their umbilical cords from tangling, which reduces at least some of the additional risk. If the split happens even later, between 8 and 13 days after fertilization, after the blastocyst has already implanted in the uterus, we enter even more complex territory. These twins share not only a placenta, but also the same amniotic sac. They're called monochorionic monoamniotic twins. All the risks of TTTS are still present, but now, without separate sacs, the twins' umbilical cords can, and often do, become entangled. This is a serious, life-threatening complication that requires very close medical monitoring throughout the entire pregnancy. The rarest case. And then there's the case that almost defies belief. If the split happens extremely late, between day 13 and day 15, the separation is never fully completed. The two developing groups of cells remain physically attached. The result is conjoined twins. They share organs, they share body parts, and they face some of the most complex medical challenges imaginable. Sadly, many conjoined twins are stillborn. Of those who survive birth, around 35% live only a few days due to the severity of their shared anatomy. Those who do survive face ongoing medical and surgical challenges throughout their lives. It's a sobering reminder of just how much hangs on the timing of a single biological event. The big picture. So here's what's remarkable when you step back and look at the whole picture. Two people, identical DNA, same origin, one fertilized egg, but depending on when that egg split, by just a matter of days, sometimes even hours, those twins could share almost nothing in the womb, or they could share a placenta, a sac, or even their own bodies. One split, one moment, a lifetime of differences. Conclusion. Let's bring it all together. Every human life begins with the fusion of a sperm and an egg, forming a single cell called a zygote. That zygote divides, travels, implants, and grows into a baby. But when that zygote splits into two, creating identical twins, the timing of that split determines everything. Early splits mean two healthy, separate babies. Later splits introduce increasing levels of risk. And in the rarest cases, the split comes too late, resulting in conjoined twins who are forever linked. Science has mapped out this entire process in remarkable detail. But the question of why a zygote splits in the first place, that's still one of nature's mysteries. The human body never stops being extraordinary. Call to action. If this blew your mind as much as it should, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss a video like this, and share it with someone who would find it just as fascinating. Like our Facebook page to stay updated on more content, and share this video with your friends and family. And follow us on Instagram for more incredible science content. And share this video with your network. You never know who needs to see it. Thanks for watching.